Oh, yeah!
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to The Fringe. Pierre Poilievre making his presence well known on Parliament Hill before the, reconvening of government takes place this September in the House of Commons. Of course, Pierre Poilievre coming out today to call, or at least force or encourage Jagmeet Singh to force an election. Now, while many people say this is a nothing burger, it doesn't mean anything. It's just Pierre, puffing out his chest. It's more of the same. Nothing's going to come from it. This is, again, a prime example of where I've said that the walls are starting to close in on Justin Trudeau and the NDP. You'll remember back in the early new year when there was talks of the Conservative Party, trying to force a non-confidence vote, and you saw the Bloc, you saw the NDP, you saw the Liberals, of course, back Justin Trudeau and say, nope, we're going to support this Liberal government. We're going to continue. And I said on that video, you're watching a funeral for the NDP, for the Liberals, and for any of the Bloc who supported this motion. Essentially, people are going to be fed up and they're not going to vote for those people in the next election, or at least we hope they won't, as polling numbers are still showing very positively strong for the Conservatives. But what this does again with Pierre's press conference today, not only does he completely own and shut down reporters, which we're going to get to that a little later on in the video, but he also points out the hypocrisy that Jagmeet Singh has sold out Canada. That if he continues to sell out Canada and sell out his party, it's going to do nothing more than ruin their reputation moving forward. This is where the pressure comes on to Jagmeet Singh. And again, it's not a matter of, well, he's just getting his pension. He's just trying to secure what he can for himself. What this does is it points out just how dastardly this party is. We've talked about the possibility of a merger between the NDP Liberals. I think this is the right move for Pierre to point out the hypocrisy. Now, is an election going to be called? Absolutely not. I don't believe they're going to call an election. But let's hear what Pierre has to say. I'm going to get to mostly the questions. I want to get to the questions and what was dealt with Pierre and the reporters mostly, because what you hear here from Pierre is more of the usual slogans. And it's not to say that it's bad, but we've all heard it before. So let's just get his introduction out of the way, and then we're going to get to the questions. Here we go.
2 million people to the food bank, voted against the crime and chaos he has caused. All the PMO staffers called you in the media and said there would be heads rolling, that they would fire ministers. They called the Globe and Mail and said incompetent and discredited Chrystia Freeland would lose her job to Mark Carney, or at least to someone who knew how to work a calculator. And then that there would be other changes. Maybe even the Prime Minister would step aside to make way and to try and bury the disastrous NDP Liberal record and put a fresh coat of paint on the broken down Liberal car. Well, what did we learn at this expensive Liberal retreat in Halifax? We learned that nothing will change. That Chrystia Freeland, who's been Canada's worst ever finance minister, helping to double our national debt and drive inflation to its worst in 4 decades, will stay in her job. Sean Fraser, who destroyed what was the best immigration system in the world, will stay in his job. The crazy carbon tax minister, Stéphane Guilbeault, who wants to ban trucks, roads, and plastic straws while Liberals legalize crack and heroin, he's going to keep his job as well. The disastrous justice minister, who's helped give Canada a 50% increase in violent crime and a 120% increase in gun crime, he will keep his job. But most important of all, Justin Trudeau, the man who is not worth the cost, announced that he will keep his job. Canadians cannot afford another painful, costly, chaotic, and corrupt year of Justin Trudeau.
So again, Pierre making a lot of good points there when he talks about how heads were going to roll. Now, you guys have been here all summer long with me. As I've been saying, I think things are going to heat up. I think there's going to be a lot of pressure. I think that we're going to see a lot of pushback towards the Liberals, especially when we go around the time where Cian Bexley again approached Justin Trudeau on Tofino Beach, and we're asking the questions, Why are you still running? Why are you going into another election when your polls are in the toilet? We've seen Chrystia Freeland holding backyard caucus meetings. We've seen Stephen Guilbeault being pulled out for saying that Chrystia Freeland was going to replace Justin Trudeau, yet nobody lost their jobs. Nothing got crazy over the summer. Now, if you watch the channel again the other day, I talked about the possibility that Justin Trudeau is essentially going to rig the next election by essentially putting strong New Democrat leaders in certain ridings, and where they're going to be incumbent saying, we're not going to run a Liberal in there. We're going to divide and conquer. We're going to use our resources in places where we need seats, where we can get seats. The NDP are going to do the same, and then we're going to continue our coalition to overtake essentially the Conservatives in the next election. Now, if Pierre is going to get the numbers that they're polling he's going to get, unless the Bloc jumps on board with them, I don't see that happening. I don't see them overtaking the Conservatives, unless, of course, it's a minority government, in which case we're at a stalemate. Nothing gets done once Pierre gets in. So we won't see the carbon tax cut. We won't see housing getting the boost that Pierre keeps talking about. We won't see immigration numbers change, because they'll merely vote down everything the Conservatives put forward, thus making Pierre look like an idiot throughout his 4 years, and that he's incompetent and can't get anything done. The problem here, now, that's not to say that I believe we should have a majority government. I don't think any government, no matter how much you back them, should have a majority at any time. But the problem we're facing right now is such a corrupt government that you can't really hope that anybody but a party that's actually going to use their power the right way gets in office and does things. Now, as he wraps up here, again, I've skipped past all the usual word salad. I want to get into what he's talking about here, because not only did he name names of ministers who are keeping their jobs and why it's important they leave, but a lot of his policy towards the end when he talks about immigration. We all know that immigration and crime is a huge problem right now in the country. Let's take a listen to what Pierre has to say on that.
Drugs, and by securing our borders to keep criminals, terrorists, drugs, and guns out, while we bring, and at the same times, we will ensure that our stolen cars do not leave our ports as they do right now. We will get that money by canceling the ridiculous gun grab and respecting the rights of our law-abiding, licensed, trained, and tested hunters and sport shooters. We will also secure our borders to make sure that never again do accused ISIS terrorists get into our country and become citizens of Canada, even after the existence of a video apparently showing that same terrorist mutilating a human body on a crucifix during the ISIS war of over a decade ago. These are the kinds of disastrous mistakes, radical approaches of the Liberal government that must end, so that we can replace their costly incompetence with our common sense. And the result will be a country where hard work again earns a powerful paycheck and pension that buys affordable food, gas, and homes in safe neighborhoods under a proud Canadian flag in the country we know and love, Canada. Let's bring it home.
So he's going to get into what his view is on the rail strike right now. I talked about the rail strike earlier this week, and again, why it's the short-demic. Essentially, a lot of things, and people came into the comments saying, well, there's still truckers. Well, here's the problem. The majority, not all, but the majority of our oil and gas that is transported across the country is done via rail. It's over railway systems. Now, I know certain return to work orders have been enhanced or put in place, but the problem with those orders is that you're not getting the volume that we're supposed to be getting. Food spoils. And if those trucks can't get fuel to move the food for people, you're going to see stores jacking their prices. You're going to see people hoarding food and selling it for a profit. Everybody said that during the pandemic, oh, it's not going to happen with toilet paper and hand sanitizer. Yet look what happened. Look what came out of that. You don't think people at a time where they're suffering financially are going to try to make a quick buck if that becomes the case? I want to get on to what Pierre says about the rails here, because this question's actually a great one that the journalists lean in with. But then Pierre snaps back, absolutely snaps back to put journalists in place when they're showing, especially on the French side of things, they don't want to get on board with his plan.
binding arbitration to resolve the rail strikes, and would you use such orders to resolve strikes in key sectors?
Well, I wouldn't have had to do that in this case. The reason that we have these strikes is because of inflation. We had last year the largest number of days lost to strike since 1986. What do we have in 1986? Inflation. Inflation leads to strikes because workers and unions have to fight to get back what they lost in purchasing power. Well, how did the inflation happen? The government doubled the debt. Justin Trudeau printed $700 billion of cash. He increased the money supply by 40%, while the real economy grew by 4%. When you add money 10 times faster than you add the stuff that money buys, then you get inflation. And that screws over workers because they live off wages. If you're a billionaire, like the people Trudeau vacations with, then you don't have to worry about inflation because your assets are inflation-proof or even inflation-positive. You get richer. It's a transfer of wealth from the have-nots to the have-yachts. And you know what? It's ironic. It's all done with Jagmeet Singh's support. He can huff and puff all he wants, but he supported the inflationary policies that destroyed the wages of working-class people, and he supports what Justin Trudeau did on the rail strike. Do you know how we know? Do you know how we know that? Do you know how we know that? No. Do you know how we know that Jagmeet supports it? Because he's still in a coalition with them. And if Jagmeet didn't support it, he would respond to my letter this afternoon and say he's pulling out of the costly coalition and he's going to vote to bring down Trudeau and cause a carbon tax election. And that's what I'm calling for him to do today. Jagmeet Singh, stop selling out the workers. Stop being sellout Singh. Put the people ahead of your pension. Vote for a carbon tax election.
There you have it. Pierre Poilievre actually calling out Jagmeet Singh by name. And again, people are going to say, look, nothing's going to happen. I understand where you sit on those comments. I get it. I get where you come on that. But what we have to take from this is, again, this is where I said the finger pointing is going to a new level. Just like Pierre said at his speech, Canadians can't take another year of this wacko government. They just can't take another year of Justin Trudeau's twisted policies, his reckless spending, his scandal after scandal after scandal type behavior, Jagmeet Singh propping them up merely to get things that they don't even end up with in the end. You think about Jagmeet Singh saying, we just got free medication for birth control or free this, that, and the other thing. He's not going to get it. He still doesn't have what he claims he's getting. I've often said that Jagmeet Singh is the little kid trying to sit at the big parents' table at a Thanksgiving meal being told to go back to the kids' table. He thinks he has power, but he has none. Now, what's more important in this in this press conference, again, and I want to bring this up from CTV. I'm sure the video will get flagged for this because, you know, people don't like, or CTV doesn't like us restreaming their propaganda. But they do show here a question that was not in the previous clip of Pierre Poilievre taking questions from French reporters, Francophone, however you want to pronounce it. And here's what's best about this is that he puts them in place to say he's not playing around, he's not playing their games. Let him finish when he's talking. It gets real good, ladies and gents. Let's get into it.
Keep those programs in place, yes or no?
À ce que je sache, ces programmes n'existent pas
As far as I know,
encore.
those programs don't exist.
Ils font des promesses.
They make promises.
Excusez-moi, monsieur, est-ce que je peux
It does
répondre?
exist. Answer? Excuse me, sir. May I answer?
Vous allez voir la plateforme électorale que
You're
je
going
vais
to see the
déposer,
election platform that
dès
I
les
will
élections.
put forward
Pour
as soon as there
l'instant,
is an
on a des
election.
promesses.
But for the time being, we have nothing but promises. Promises from the Liberals, from the Coalition, and the NDP, and the Bloc. That if they spend more, one day there's going to be great gifts for everyone. They have already promised. I'm not going to allow you to interrupt me. I'm going to give you my complete answer. It doesn't exist yet.
Combien de personnes ont reçu ça?
How many people have received that?
Combien?
How many?
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 Combien?
How
Vous
many?
voulez pas répondre non plus parce que
You don't want to answer
est-ce que je peux
either.
répondre?
Can I respond? I can't answer if you keep interrupting me. You've asked a false question, and you admit that is because when I asked you how many pills have been shared with people, you can't answer because the answer is probably 0. I'm going to complete my sentence. We can't keep something that does not exist. That's my answer. Thank you.
Pierre absolutely coming out and shutting them down and saying no more. This is similar to the how do you like them apples in my mind. You remember what happened when Pierre was heckled in the House of Commons? I can't even remember the Global reporter's name because he's that irrelevant. I know somebody will probably put it in the comments and then it'll hit me like a nail in the head, but I digress. That this is the best of Pierre, and this is why I still think that despite what anybody thinks or says, you know, it's all uniparty, it's just another face on the other side of the aisle. This is a guy who handles finances. This is a guy who gets it in my mind. Call me naive all you like, but I think that Pierre is definitely the man for the job. And I think that he's showing that when you look at the other possible candidates, when you look at anybody else that could stand up and take this job, and as much as people want to say guys like Maxime Bernier, look, I got no problem with Max. I know Max personally. I don't have an issue with him. The problem is he can't even get his seat. He can't get the numbers. It's merely vote splitting. And I'll admit that as somebody who has voted for the PPC in the past, that's just the reality of it, ladies and gentlemen. When you look at who's available to run this country, who's going to be the next man in charge, is it really so bad if it's Pierre Poilievre moving forward? I personally don't think so. In fact, I like this kind of Pierre. I hope that this Pierre sticks around because for the last year, it's been a lot of the slogans. It's been a lot of the jargon that comes forward. I like aggressive Pierre. I like the Pierre that doesn't, play around, that doesn't take flack from anybody else, and that anytime he gets it, he shows that he's dominant. And he puts his foot down and he says, no more, no mas. We're not doing this anymore. We haven't seen a leader do this in quite some time since, well, probably Stephen Harper. And we all know how much better life was before Justin Trudeau came in with Stephen Harper under play. Despite the mistakes Harper has made, I still thought he was a good prime minister. Let me know what you guys think down below. Are you happy to see Pierre like this? Are you happy to see him calling out specific MPs by name and also basically labeling Jagmeet Singh on a chicken match, saying you either call or you're part of the problem? Let me know what you guys think down below. If it's your first time here, I hope this video has earned your subscription. As you're hitting that button, don't forget to click your bell for notifications. Leave a thumbs up and a comment on the way out if you enjoyed the video. It helps push us out into the algorithm. I know that anytime we do these kind of videos and we're talking bad against Captain Socks, our Prime Minister, YouTube likes to just bury these videos, and the only way they get out is if we get a comment and a thumbs up from you guys. So make sure to leave that if you enjoyed the video down below. Join me every Friday here on the channel for Friday Night Fringe, my weekly live streaming show where I sit down with not only myself but and you, the community, but my beautiful wife, Mrs. Fringe, joins us on stream every Friday as well to sit and chat with you guys about all the crazy things that have happened in politics this week, everything we know that's coming up, and some quirky stories back and forth. It's a good time every Friday. We always enjoy talking to you guys outside of making these videos and hearing what you have to say. And I look forward to seeing each and every one of you this Friday night here on the channel, again, starting at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central here on the channel. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next one.